I have a sister, she was 6 at the time, I was 4, and I had a brother 2. Well, my dad took my brother 2 and me and took us to Parrish, Alabama, and my sister, age 6, stayed with my mom. And so we get down there, my dad's mother passed away when he was a child, and his father was in prison for killing somebody, and his grandmother raised him. So his grandmother was getting older, and she said, I can only take one of these children. And she took my brother. So my dad gave me away. He gave me to some pretty well-off people, and it was a very small town that couldn't have kids, and they wanted children, so my dad let them have me. And I mean, they were very good, maybe in one way, but God didn't want it that way, because they were very good Christian people. So maybe if I would have stayed with them, I would have become a Christian a lot sooner than I did. But, you know, we don't know that. And so finally, my mom and dad, after a couple of years, got back together. And my dad hadn't signed any papers or anything, but they put up a big fight, a real big fight in court to get me back, because these people were not going to give me back to my parents. But they did. They won the battle, and I came back to Cincinnati with my parents. But these people, when they had me too, they used to parade me around town. I had natural curly hair and was just cute as a button. And, they would say, people would stop and say, oh, that is the cutest little girl. And I'd look at them and say, I know. I know I am.
Some things never change.
And here I am again. But then things went on. Now I'm 13. And I come home from school one day. Of course, you know, I got all my friends and, you know, liking it. And I come in the door, and my mom and my sister, who then was 15, said, Carolyn, go pack your clothes. Your dad left again. This time he went to a cousin in Chicago, and you're going to have to go with him. I'm going to your father. And I said, oh, no, you're not. I'm not going. Send Shirley. You know, she always stays here, and I have to always go, and I'm not going. And I refused to go. But my dad came back in a couple of days anyway, but I just always thought, this isn't right. You know, why is it always me? And then also, I did the laundry. You know, we had the ringer washers, you know, unless you were well off, and we weren't. I did the laundry. We didn't have carpet, so I waxed the floors on my hands and knees. I did the ironing. My sister did absolutely nothing, and I would actually move the bed out, crawl under it and move it to wax with her sleeping in it. Because she would stay up all night reading magazines and stuff and sleep all day, and I never could understand why my mom let this happen. Because, you know, to me, she was older, she should be doing this stuff. But I never disobeyed, so I did what I was told. And my friends at school always said I wasn't allowed to do anything. I made the cheerleading squad. I tried out and I made it, and my mom said I couldn't do it, and that really hurt. And so I forgot where I was. Well, about my cleaning. But then I'm going to move up, and then I'll backtrack to when I was 48. I found out when I was 48, my sister was 50, that she was not my dad's. And I felt then that's the reason they always give me to my dad and not Shirley, because she didn't belong to him. And it kind of made me realize, maybe out of guilt, they didn't have her do anything. You know, I don't know. I was told it was a date rape. But, I mean, here we are all these years, and we were never told this. The only reason we found out was my sister applied for her Social Security, or her birth certificate, and on it, back then, they put illegitimate, I don't know what they do today, probably nothing, but back then they did, and she got her birth certificate, and she opened it, and it said illegitimate. So we knew, right, she didn't know who her father was, and she called crying, saying she wasn't my sister, and I mean, her 50 years old, and me 4, but then it made me think, well, that's why all that stuff was going on all those years, because she didn't belong to my father. So, but then I figured that was the reason. And then things went along, but then before my dad passed away, which was 5 years ago, he did give himself to the Lord, because all he did was run around on my mom, and he always wanted to tell me all the details of it. And I didn't want to hear it, but he always got me aside, and then he'd confess to my mom when he'd get feeling guilty, but he would want to tell her, oh, she called me Red Devil, little Red Devil, and we stayed at Family Inn Hotel. I mean, this to me was just horrible. But he did, before he passed away, a good year before he passed away, give himself to the Lord, ask forgiveness, and so I know that he was all right when he passed. And my mom had passed away 19 years ago. She passed away at a young age. And then, now I'm going to go back to 17. I met Floyd when I was 17 and got pregnant with our son, David. And back then, you're thinking, I'm 66 years old, so think back 66, or when I was 17, you did not get pregnant out of wedlock and you just kept it a secret. So we got married because my dad gave him a choice that he could marry me and I could live at home and they would raise the baby with me, and he could go on his own. And he said, well, if I'm going to marry her, she's going to live with me. So 13 months later, we had Debbie. So here I was, a baby myself, with babies. I'd walk in stores and people would say, would you just, when I was pregnant with Debbie and Carrie and David, they'd say, will you look at that baby, and she's gonna have another one, got one on her hip. So, but and I still did not have no God, still not in my life. And 13 years of marriage, we got a divorce. I thought the grass was greener on the other side because I was so young and I never did get to do anything as a child. And I left my mom's house straight to Floyd's house, and I thought, oh, the grass has got to be better on the other side. I'm going to get me a divorce. He didn't want it, but I did. And that is when my life turned. I still didn't have God, of course, and my life turned upside down. I mean, you want to talk about bad. I could be here all night and never tell you everything, but I'll just skim over it a little bit. I was working in trucking, and drivers came from all over to deliver freight to our dock. And there was this guy came, he was so good looking, 6'2", and the sweetest thing, he would come by, make sure he delivered his freight at lunchtime where he could take me to lunch. And I just thought he was the sweetest thing there was, so I ended up getting with him. I didn't know he was a drug addict and a criminal on top of it, but I found out quick. And you think when bad things start happening, and I know people have told me things before, and I'll say, boy, if that was me, I wouldn't put up with that. Well, there's certain things and certain people that you will put up with it because you're scared to death, especially when there's a gun in your head. And so I wanted him out of my life, but like I said, it's harder than I could. And he would put a gun to my head and make me make phone calls for his drug deals, and me just shivering all over, but I did what I was told because I just knew he would shoot me. And how I really knew this is he was really over in Newport, and he introduced me to a friend of his and his wife and children. And I thought, boy, she just looks so pitiful. Well, a month later, I had the news on TV And there she was murdered. And he did it, but he got away with it. And this guy I was with told me, do you see what happened to her? And he said, that's what I'm telling you. You do one thing that I don't tell you to do, and you and your children will be in the same shape, and we will not get caught. He said, even if I get caught, I've got other people, or if I have to go to jail or something, I've got other people that will come and kill you, and kill your kids. And I was just petrified. I did whatever he said to do. And then one night, I went to a business meeting, and I pulled in my driveway after the business meeting, and all I remember getting out of the car, and that's all I remember until I came to in his car with my head bleeding and a gun to my head. He had hit me in the head with a club when I got out of the car. And when I came to, he had the gun to my head, and he said, he was driving down the road, where do you want your children to find you? You want them to find you in the park? You want them to find you here in your driveway, because I am killing you, because you haven't been to no business meeting. And so I begged, I pleaded, I just pleaded, I would do anything, please don't kill me and leave my kids without a mother. And so he beat me some more and left me off in my driveway. Well, I couldn't move for several days, and the kids, wanted to know, what's wrong, Mom? What's wrong, Mom? And I told them that I went to a bar and got drunk and got in a fight with some girl, and a whole bunch of them jumped me, and that was what was wrong with me. That's what I told them. And back then, I know the drugs and that was probably out there, but you just didn't really hear about them. The main thing you heard about was marijuana. That was the biggie, and I didn't know nothing. And he would bring, you guys that know, I did not know, and he would bring pot in the house, and it was green, and he would put it in the oven and put tea bags with it and cook it until it turned brown. And I guess, I don't know, I guess that means you get more money if it's brown and not green? I mean, I don't know what was the purpose of cooking it in the oven with tea bags, but that's what he did, and told me I better not tell nobody. I was afraid to tell anybody anything. I wasn't allowed to have friends. I didn't talk to my mom and dad for months, and I mean, it was horrible. And then one day, I know nothing about guns. To this day, I know nothing about guns. You can ask Floyd. I'm very dumb on guns. But he had guns there under the bed, and I got one. And I had a rocker I always sat and rocked in front of the living room door. And I got that gun. I don't know if the safety was off or not, but I sat and held that gun all evening, rocking, waiting for him to walk in the door, and I was going to kill him. Because I thought that's all I can do. I'm going to have to kill him. And not thinking that I'd go to jail myself and then my kids wouldn't have a mother. But I got afraid, thinking, what if I miss? Because I don't know how to shoot a gun. What if I hit his arm and then I know then for sure I'm dead? So I put it up. And I thank God for that. God probably told me to put it up, and I just didn't know he was telling me to put it up. And a little while later, maybe a week or so later, I heard this commotion outside in the yard, a horrible commotion, and I thought, what is going on out there? And here was my son, and he was 5'6", 145 pounds. This guy's 6'2", 250 pounds, and our son, it took a lot to get him upset. But when you did, you better watch out. I don't care how little he was. And he had this guy on the ground, beating him in the face, telling him to get out of there. I know what you've been doing to my mother, and you will not bother her again, and I want you out of here. And I thought, he's dead. My son's dead, because he's going to kill him. And he left. But when he left, he rolled the window down and he hollered, just remember, I know where you work, I know where the kids go to school, I know where you live, and you won't even be knowing it, and I will kill you. If you know, like he figured I'd go turn him in. And so I watched everywhere I went and checked on the kids because I was just petrified. And one day I was driving home from work and I seen he was behind me in the car. And I just started shaking. And he pulled up beside me and shot through the back windows. So I know he wasn't aiming. He was just making sure that I knew that he was watching me and that he could kill me if he wanted to. Because I think if he wanted to, I'd have been dead then. But he shot through the back window. And for months, I wrote a letter. I had a picture of him and wrote a letter that if me or my kids were found dead, he did it. And I put it in the drawer, hid it in the drawer. And that way, he put his name and everything on it. That way, if we were dead, they could get him. So things went along, and I got that. I mean, I never seen him again, and then I calmed down and went around, and then this one night, I went out, got drunk, got a DUI. Cops pulled me over, and they said, ma'am, how many beers have you had tonight? And I said, I don't drink beer, I drink Windsor. So I got handcuffed, and that just scared me to death, to get handcuffed. And they were going to they handcuff you behind, and I said, please, please. And they said, all right, we'll handcuff you in the front, you know. And then did I get it because my daughter, you know, she was married and that then, but she was working second shift, and she had, you know, got home from work and had really just went to sleep, and I had to call her to come and get me out of jail. And she said, you know, Mother, if that was the other way around, buddy, would I be hearing it from you? And she said, no, I got to go get my mother out of jail. So because of that, I got sent to Camp Allen. I don't know if any of you know where Camp Allen is. And I had to spend 3 days in Camp Allen. I do not want to go back to Camp Allen. I mean, those ladies in there were mean. I mean, really mean. And I couldn't sleep anyway, and you have to take your showers in a big group. And so it was 5:30 in the morning, and I thought, well, I'm going to go take my shower while everybody's sleeping, and then I'll have it over and done. I'm taking by myself privately. And the next morning at breakfast, these two big girls said, I don't know who the you-know-what was that took a shower at 5:30 and woke us up. But if I know who that is, they're mine. And just not even realizing it, my voice said, me too. I'll get myself out of this one real quick because I didn't want to get it. And all this time, I mean, all my life since I was 17, I had loved Floyd. You know, and like I said, I did not have God in my life, and he didn't either. So we did, you know, he drank too much, but he wasn't mean to us. It was me who thought the grass was greener on the other side. So eventually we got back together and we got remarried. But we really still didn't have God in our life. And opened a trucking company, named it Double D Express after our children, David and Debbie. And I mean, it was going great. I mean, we had, as far as money was concerned, we had anything and everything we wanted. We had a $250,000 home with a fishing lake full of fish. We had a very large new RV with everything in it. You might as well be home if you think you're camping. You might as well be at the house, had everything you want in it. We had a 19-foot fishing ski boat with 150 horsepower. Like I said, and all the money we could ever dream of. And because our business was very successful. How, with God not in it, I don't know, but it was. So, but I wasn't happy. I was miserable. So one day, I go back in the bedroom and lock the door. And even though I didn't have God in my life, I had a picture of Jesus on the wall. And I looked at the picture of Jesus and I said, I'm going to take these pills and kill myself, and if you don't want me to do it, tell me. Well, of course, he never said nothing, so I did it. And I felt myself, going, and now this was probably God, I didn't know it at the time, told me to call my daughter. And I called her and said, I just want to tell you I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I've just done, and I love you and your brother. But tell your brother that I'm sorry, that I love him. So she turned around and called her father, and he come and broke the bedroom door down and made me throw up and took me to the hospital. They pumped my stomach, and they told me, if you don't sign yourself in to the mental ward to get help, we have to call the police and report your attempted suicide. And they will put you in a lot longer than if you sign yourself in. So I signed myself in. And because of our company and having so many customers and friends, I had every kind of flower and teddy bear. Of course, you can't have them in glass pictures or nothing, and you're not allowed in each other's room. And so all these patients who, they were just so pitiful, God put me there for a reason too, they'd stand outside my room and just look at what I had, and made me realize, look what you have to these people. And so you got to work your way up to points, like you to be green level, red level, and I think it's when you got to green level, you got to go down in the lobby, and they had a, what do you call it, gift shop. So I went in the gift shop and I ordered every person in there flowers to be sent to the room. And then the doctor said, I got to get you out of here because you're trying to take care of the patients instead of taking care of yourself. So I think he figured I'd seen enough. So he let me go. I'm just moving along here, not even turning my pages.